In the early 2000s, with the internet picking up steam and the advent of social media, a new movement was taking root, led by free thinkers, journalists, and scientists. It was known as the New Atheist Movement. From Christopher Hitchens to Richard Dawkins, it breathed new life into secularism, humanism, and frankly, a way forward from organized religion. And mind you, back then, they almost certainly weren't afraid to criticize even religions like Islam.
But at the moment, it's very clear to me that the most toxic form that religion takes is the Islamic form. The horrible idea of wanting to end up with Sharia.
But this didn't last very long. By 2014, the new atheist wave had collapsed. Infighting, political divisions, and a changing cultural landscape tore it apart. And into that vacuum came something new, a strange fusion of ideologies that mimicked religion without calling itself one. Secular dogmas, identity movements, and the rise of wokeism filled the void, offering morality, community, even ritual, but no grace, no forgiveness, and certainly no unity. The result? Deep political tribalism, culture wars without end. In a world that promised freedom from religion, many were left with nothing but chaos. And now, almost quietly, something unexpected is happening. Christianity, long dismissed by these movements, is starting to rise again, but not in the way anyone expected. By the mid-2010s, it was clear. The new atheist moment was over. The lectures stopped selling out, the YouTube debates stopped trending, and the movement fractured into infighting. Hitchens passed away, Dawkins was labelled a bigot, Harris walked away disillusioned. The so-called Alliance of Reason couldn't even agree on what reason meant anymore, and in that silence, a new religion began to take shape. Only this one didn't call itself a religion. Instead of heaven or hell, it spoke of privilege and power. Instead of original sin, it offered whiteness or systematic bias. And instead of redemption, it gave you public shaming and doing the work. As an ex-Muslim, I watched this shift with a rather strange sense of deja vu. Loneliness is through the roof. Mental health crises have become the new normal. In the US, deaths of despair have tripled since the 1990s. Even among young people in wealthy nations, rates of anxiety and depression have surged. We live in the most materially comfortable era in human history. More choice, more entertainment, more freedom than ever before. But somehow, we're still empty. And part of that can almost certainly be attributed to the rapid decline in Christianity in the West over the past few decades. You can see it in the numbers. In 2001, over 70% of Britons identified as Christian. By 2021, that number had dropped below 50% for the first time in recorded history. The UK, once the seat of Christendom, was now officially post-Christian. Australia, same story. In 2011, 61% of Australians still call themselves Christian. A decade later, that fell to just 44%. And in the United States, arguably the most religious Western country, Christian affiliation plummeted from over 80% in the early 2000s to around 63% by 2021. The fastest growing religious group today, the so-called nones, people who claim no religion at all. They've tripled in 2 decades. On paper, it looks like secularism won. The churches are empty, the old hymns are forgotten, and religion, we're told, is just a relic of the past. But here's the strange part. That's not the full story. Now, I do want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, you. No, seriously, this channel is completely fan-funded. No corporate overlords or gambling disguised as mobile games. Just regular people supporting through Patreon and helping keep this content independent. And if you're enjoying this video and the broader channel so far, consider signing up as a patron. You get perks like early access, Discord roles, and direct access to me. Links in the description below. While the West was busy writing Christianity's obituary, immigrants were quietly breathing life back into it. In cities like London, Paris, and Houston, it's not the locals who are filling the pews, it's the migrants. In London alone, over 20,000 people worship in black majority churches every Sunday. That's more than all of the UK's major denominations combined in some boroughs. In Paris, where Catholicism is a cultural fossil, African immigrants are the reason churches still hold regular Mass. In Spain, Latin American Christians are opening new churches faster than the old ones are closing. In Italy, the Romanian Orthodox population, now over 1 million, has planted more than 400 parishes in the past 2 decades. Even in the US, where Protestant mainline churches have hemorrhaged members, Latin American migrants, especially Catholics and Pentecostals, are the reason some dioceses haven't collapsed entirely. Then there's Gen Z. The generation raised on TikTok, nihilism, and Netflix is getting curious. YouGov polling in the UK found that young men, ages 18 to 24, are more likely to attend church weekly than their boomer grandparents. At Asbury University in Kentucky, what began as a small student prayer meeting in 2023 turned into a viral, round-the-clock revival that drew tens of thousands. Young people are quietly attending Latin Mass, listening to Jordan Peterson dissect the Bible, sitting in pews and asking questions. To them, Christianity isn't the establishment, it's rebellion. It's a counterculture with structure, beauty, and permanence. Then there are the strange ambassadors. Love him or hate him, Jordan Peterson has made millions of young men rethink the Bible, not as fairy tales, but as archetypal truths. His biblical lecture series has over 50 million views, and that's not taking into account the tons of other New Age conservatives who have added Christianity as a fundamental part of what is now the counterculture.
If you vote Democrat as a Christian, I think you can no longer call yourself a Christian. You have to call yourself something else. I do not think you could be a Christian and vote Democrat.
Even ex-Muslims, from one of the pillars of the new atheist movement, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and the most followed apostate on this very platform, are now Christians.
From what you've just said, it sounds as though you're more than just a political Christian. I mean, it sounds as though you actually believe it.
I choose to accept Jesus Christ, the teachings of Jesus Christ, the story of Jesus Christ. I choose to accept that. So on the personal level, the rewards I get, very subjective again, but mine and through choice.
And finally, there's something nobody can argue with: math. Christianity in Africa is exploding. And unlike the secular West, they're not having fewer children, they're having more. And ironically, African priests are now being sent to revitalize parishes in Germany, France, and the UK. In the same way Christianity once spread outward from Europe, it's now being re-exported by the very people Western elites used to call behind. So it begs the question, why now? Why, after all the mockery, all the decline, and all the data pointing toward religion's slow death, is Christianity making a comeback? Secular culture promised liberation through endless choice. Instead, it left people adrift. In Britain, nearly 90% of young adults say their lives lack meaning, despite unprecedented wealth and freedom. Depression and anxiety have surged. Consumerism and digital addictions offer temporary distractions, but no lasting satisfaction. Even spirituality trends like mindfulness or astrology haven't provided deeper fulfillment. Christianity addresses this vacuum by offering a meaningful narrative. Every life matters, suffering isn't pointless, and love has real depth. It speaks to a generation exhausted by hollow pleasures. Modern society is also exhausted from constant division. By 2023, 65% of Americans described politics as exhausting. Nearly 80% called it corrupt or divisive. Without a unifying moral framework, the West became tribal, turning politics into a pseudo-religion. Even atheist thinkers like Douglas Murray now argue the West needs Christian-inspired values for stability. Christianity, at its core, offers something politics rarely does: unity and reconciliation. It defines people not by identity or politics, but as inherently valuable. To add to this, faced with terrorism, mass immigration, and geopolitical uncertainty, many Westerners are re-examining their cultural foundations. The secular assumption that religion was irrelevant collapsed after events like 9/11, Paris, London, and Vienna. Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilizations theses regained prominence as religion returned to geopolitical importance. Even Richard Dawkins recently acknowledged he's now a cultural Christian, conceding that he would rather live under a society shaped by Christian values than any alternative. Leaders from Viktor Orban in Hungary to Macron in France increasingly frame Christianity as a cultural identity crucial to Western civilization. It's not about personal faith as much as recognizing the roots of Western freedoms, equality, dignity, and human rights. As historically Christian, without this foundation, these values seem increasingly fragile. Material comforts also alone cannot answer deeper existential anxieties. Rising debts of despair reveal a crisis of meaning. Gallup polls consistently show religious individuals report significantly higher life satisfaction. Christianity offers an explanation for suffering, a framework of redemption, and a reason to persevere through hardship, something secular approaches often lack. Psychologist Clay Routledge found that young people frequently seek substitutes in political ideologies or fandoms, but these rarely satisfy their deeper existential needs. Christianity provides what psychologist Jonathan Haidt calls a moral exoskeleton, a stable structure for meaning and morality, helping people endure life's struggles. Christianity is regaining appeal by rediscovering its strengths, tradition, beauty, and authentic community. Rather than chasing cultural relevance, churches that emphasize ancient liturgy, sacred music, and community charity attract young people searching for depth. Bishop Robert Barron's documentary series Catholicism drew millions precisely because it highlighted timeless beauty and tradition. Young adults, tired of digital superficiality and isolation, increasingly seek out communities that offer genuine connections and meaningful actions. It provides a lived experience of belonging, resilience, and purpose in a world that's lost its way. Look, Christianity hasn't roared back. It's now quietly rooted itself. No longer a crumbling relic, it's becoming a lean, global counterculture. Migrant-led, Gen Z curious, and grounded in tradition. As culture wars and politics divide, more people are turning to the old faith for what modern life can't offer. In the glow of candlelit chapels and gospel halls, a new center of gravity is forming. It may not be loud, but it's growing. And now, it appears the next chapter of Christianity in the West is being written. Hey, you made it to the end. As always, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and give the video a thumbs up. It really helps. A massive thank you to all my channel members and Patreon supporters. You're the reason I can keep making content like this. If you want to support the channel, consider joining the crew. Just hit the join button below or head over to Patreon. Even a small pledge goes a long way, and I would genuinely love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.